Most Americans do in fact believe that our democracy is at risk, but a small fraction of them are basing their midterm votes on the fact that they feel that democracy is being dismantled. Now, in a New York Times Siena College poll, which was released this month, 71% of voters said they believe democracy is at risk, but only 7% said they view it as the most important issue facing the country. Now, are there fears about democracy being dismantled or being at risk? Valid? Yes. It turns out that about 60% of Americans will have an election denier on their midterm ballot. And that's, of course, candidates who completely bought Trump's lies about the election being stolen from him. Some of those candidates are running for offices such as governor, secretary of state, and attorney general, which would give them significant power over how elections are conducted in their states if they were to win. Now, we can talk about a lot of the reasons why voters might be feeling this way. So there's gonna be a little bit of speculation here. But before we get to that, let me just note that the priorities for these voters were inflation, crime, gas prices. So some of the more immediate issues that they're dealing with, whereas our democracy being at risk is not necessarily an immediate issue to them that's impacting their lives negatively at this moment. So that's one of the potential reasons, right? It's just wanting to deal with what's in front of you right now. But I think there are other reasons as well. So Ben, I'm gonna go over to you and ask you what you think.
I think this is the absolutely most pressing issue we are facing right now. I'm so glad we're talking about it today because we have just a few days until the midterms on November 8th. And there are a lot of different reasons, and so many of the reasons people still are not prioritizing it are just missing the forest for the trees here. Of course, the immediate issues are very important, but if you don't have a democracy, if you have literally just authoritarian rule takeover and leaders that do not listen to the will of the people and fuel conspiracy theories, it leads to violence, it leads to chaos. You see what happened to Paul Pelosi, you see what's happening, people shooting up outside of FBI offices, you see what's happening everywhere where people attack the Capitol building of this nation and then claim that's not a problem and they are patriots. So quickly, everything turns upside down if you do not prioritize protecting what we have left of our democracy. So a lot of people are also saying they don't care about the risks to our democracy because our democracy is already so broken. Yeah, that is of course true. We have so much dark money and so much influence of corrupt people corrupting corrupt politicians, absolutely. But at least we still have the vote. At least we still have the ability to kick them out, sometimes even. We at least still have the ability to say that is not gonna stand and bring in new leaders and at least as fast as we can change and save literally the future of the country. And as America goes the world. You see it now happening in Brazil. You see it happening in places all over the world. And if we don't step up right now in these midterm elections and have historic turnout, if we don't outdo the midterm turnout from 2018, if we don't step up and say enough is enough and we will not support any election denier. 60% of the country, and I read you the statistic, has an election denier on their ballot right now that will not agree to your vote, will not agree to the will of the people. You think it's bad enough that rights are being overturned? The right to reproductive health is being overturned. They're talking about turning over gay rights, talking about turning over any basic right in this country that we hold dear is up for grabs once you have people that are not beholden to the will of the people at all and are now just beholden only 100% to their corporate backers, to whatever job they want to get when they leave Congress, soon as the revolving door can spin around once. You have to step up right now and tell all of your friends and tell all of your Republican friends, this is not the time to vote for wedge issues. It's not the time to vote for the things that traditionally divide the parties. It's a time to step up for truth. That's why groups like the Lincoln Project and others are standing up and saying, we still believe in Republican principles, but not now. Now is the chance we have, the first time and maybe the last time we get to go on record at the ballot box after Jan 6 and say anyone who does not believe in the free and fair elections of the United States will be pushed to the dustbin, not even of history, because they won't even be a footnote. They'll be a joke that ran and lost horribly. It's right now only, November 8th.
Yeah, look, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Number one, it seems as though Democrats have used the risk to our democracy as a campaign messaging tactic and nothing more than that. And I think when you use something as serious as a political tool, rather than actually following it up with what it needs to be followed up with, people are less likely to take it as seriously as they should. So let me explain what I mean. The January 6th hearings. I mean, Trump is still not being investigated. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, he still has not been charged by the DOJ for his very clear involvement in what transpired, not only on January 6th, but everything that was taking place behind the scenes with all the planning and all the plotting that was going on. The fact that the DOJ hasn't charged him with anything, okay, well, I mean, is our democracy really at risk? Because if it were at risk, wouldn't the Democrats, wouldn't the DOJ want to charge Trump after we've seen all these hearings and we've seen all that evidence? I think that the Democrats really hurt themselves, by doing like a billion investigations into Trump that lead to nothing, okay? Different issues, not just like the election denialism. And I also think that when people are hurting economically, yeah, that is gonna be like the most important thing that they're gonna be thinking about, the most important thing that they're gonna wanna solve, right? They want politicians and they want political leaders who can speak to that economic instability. And Democrats haven't really done a great job on that either. We've heard a ton of excuses for why they weren't able to accomplish the things that they said they would accomplish as long as they got that majority in Congress. Remember, leading up to those 2 Senate runoff races in Georgia, what did we hear over and over again from Democrats? We need to win because if we win, we'll have the majority. If we can get the majority, we can get you voting rights. They failed in that. They didn't even try with voting rights. They didn't even try. And so I think that is part of the problem. Like, it's hard for people to take the fears of our democracy being dismantled seriously. Like, if we don't see real action. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
So much I want to respond to there because you're so right that people aren't seeing the change. And it's again because Democrats do not ever message strongly and properly. And they make false promises that are not accurate to the letter of what the truth is. So you're totally right. They were saying those 2 spots in Georgia would make all the difference and we're gonna pass it. And we got those 2 spots, nothing passed because they were not talking about real math. They were saying we need to get to 50 and then plus Kamala Harris is 51, just ignoring you got Manchin and Sinema and sometimes others that just refuse to go along with the party's platform that can change the future. So the real number is 52 plus Kamala Harris's vote. And that sadly was not messaged now, so you're gonna lose a lot of people. Millions are gonna say you lied last time. But the truth is we need 52 for most of these issues to pass. And then it is Manchin and Sinema proof. For some of these, like cannabis legalization, we need about 5 more in the Senate. And we need to, of course, hold the House as well. That's the real math. And so it sucks we have to change it, but it still doesn't change the fact that on November 8th, if we get just 2 more Democratic senators and hold the House, then all of these things will pass. Because the House took action. The House did pass voting rights, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but it won't be taken up by a Senate that won't allow it, and we don't have a filibuster-proof majority, and we don't have even enough to make a carve-out of the filibuster because you need the vote that you won't get from Manchin and Sinema on that. You get 2 more and you get all those carve-outs, and that change truly can happen. I wish they were messaging that better, pushing that out better, 100%. That's a real shame that they did not. But at the same time, when you're talking about the threats to our democracy more broadly, that is true. That is a giant problem that people don't believe it to be true just because these investigations aren't leading to things. 100%. The Jan 6 committee should not have done all these trials, come to a conclusion, then said, oh, but now maybe we'll subpoena Trump and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
They just weaken themselves and they
100%.
let go at the end. But I'm hopeful.
It looks, because when they do that, it looks like it's just political.
Just for show,
like it's just for show and something to do, something for Democrats to kind of hang their hat on as we approach the midterm elections.
Yes.
And when it appears politically motivated like that, Americans are not going to take it as seriously, especially when there are other issues that are front and center in their lives, impacting them day in, day out.
True, but I still hold out hope that, I mean, we do know that the DOJ is investigating Trump. They have not brought charges yet. I'm hoping it's because they were trying to hold to the old, I guess, respect for not interfering with midterms. I don't know how truth would interfere, but maybe right after the midterms, there will be charges coming soon. Let's hope, because it is not just all the things that you mentioned that Trump did leading up to January 6th, all of the planning, but the worst thing is that he is currently still undermining our democracy every day, calling these election deniers, saying the more you double down on the big lie, the more you're gonna win. And that is he's currently still trying to tear down our democracy. He's committing crimes every day. By the definition of sedition, of treason against this country, it's giving aid and comfort to our enemies. What would give any enemy of the United States more comfort than a former president that controls the minds of 40, 50% of the country to say, we don't have democracy anymore, you can make up your own facts? That destroys America. That is treason by definition. And in the Constitution, treason can be punished by up to a punishment of death. So we need to start taking so much more seriously in this country the consequences that we purport to stand by. And if you care so much about the Constitution, start standing up for it. Not just being able to keep your gun based on the one sentence in the Second Amendment, but the whole thing in its totality and what it stands for in this country. Then maybe you can save the future. We don't let our country fall by the wayside. Or don't, just stay home and keep those 2 hours to binge Netflix more and let American democracy go bye-bye. I don't know why I did an in sync bye at the end.
I don't know, I'm into it though.
Thank you.
You, boo.
Thank you so much. I'm sweating.
All right. No, I love the passion. It's so hard at this point to have any faith in the Democratic Party doing anything that would turn this ship in the right direction, really. Republicans tell you who they are. They're candid, they're transparent. They tell you exactly what they're planning to do, and more often than not, they actually do it.
And they message so hard on lies.
They're relentless.
On lies. And we should message as hard on the truth. They are taking away your country, your freedom, your democracy, all of that. And why I'm so glad we're talking about this a lot here at TYT is because the mainstream media keeps making false equivalencies on this issue that determines the future of the country on both sides. This is not a both sides issue. There is no way that you can say, oh, it's an equally valid opinion to say democracy doesn't matter and elections don't matter. That's crazy. And there's mainstream news networks saying, I'm sorry, Trump supporters, if you're offended by this story. No, that's no longer a valid opinion. If you support Trump now, today, in the face of his ongoing torching of our democracy, you are a traitor as well. You don't get to support somebody's policies when they're not in power, when the thing they are still doing, being out of power, is destroying the democracy. That is all he's doing. And that's a huge danger.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.